as we're all kind of looking back on the 4th of July, I hope everybody had a great 4th. On July 2nd, I read the Declaration of Independence. It had been a number of years, and just started thinking about freedom. Obviously, in the context of freedom of choice, freedom to worship, freedom to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? As we think about freedom. But I wanted to share in this week's Tool of the Week, Dan Sullivan's talked a lot about, and I've spent 15 plus years around what he calls the 4 freedoms that I want to share here. I don't believe I've ever shared the 4 freedoms. If you're familiar with Strategic Coach's content and the 4 freedoms, this will be old news for you. But as thinking about freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and I want to think specifically about these 4 freedoms. So Dan talks about the freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationship, and freedom of purpose. And you might think, if this is the first time hearing this or thinking about this, you're like, okay, what exactly does that mean? And I guess I'm going to put it back to you to say, what would that mean to you? To have freedom of time. The constraints of normal time. What constrains your time, and how do you create some freedoms around time? I've talked a ton about time management, so I think that is a part of it, that using time systems, whether that's using an ideal week or the perfect week, or some of these, scheduling, freedom of money. What does that look like? Investments, savings, budgets, relationships, freedom of relationships. What is that? Accretive relationships, beneficial relationships, powerful relationships, or relationships that are toxic and negative. And what about freedom of purpose? What does that look like? So I'm going to end with this. What decisions today create more freedom in all 4 areas over the next 10 years? So maybe think about that. Maybe do a clarity break specific to thinking about what would freedom of time look like for you 10 years from today. Freedom of money, freedom of relationship, freedom of purpose. This is going to be certainly much more, if you really dig into this, is much more than one clarity break, one tool, one 5-10 minute thinking around this tool specifically. But where would you like to create more freedoms in your life, and what actions do you need to take to do so? Hope you have a great week. Thanks.